my friends and subscribers around the world. I must also say I am very sad and very sorrowful to see and observe all the massacre and atrocities that the Hamas and its people have committed at the southern border of Gaza and Israel against the innocent Jewish communities, the murdering and butchering of innocent Israeli people, young people, old people, and also babies. I would like the world to look at these glimpses, what really took place on October 7, 2023, at Israel's southern border with Gaza, especially those that have wives, a husband, children, grandparents, loved ones, etc., etc. No one from Gaza or any Islamic countries have condemned Hamas attacks on the Jewish state. Instead, Palestinians from within Gaza and around the world jumping up, saying, "Praise be to Allah." Just think of that. No mercy on those innocent people.
دلوقتي يا جدعان دول الصاعقة المصرية سلاح المظلات وهو بينزل عندنا في نادي النصر مصر الجديدة. والله زي ما انتم شايفين كده. انت ايه مش فاهم ايه؟ اهو انا صورت.
Supernova Festival in Israel ended abruptly after Hamas militants launched a deadly assault on the event, shooting into the crowds and grabbing hostages as they went. Here's what we know so far about how the attack unfolded. The festival began on Friday evening and took place in this rural area near the Gaza-Israel border in the Negev desert. Satellite imagery taken on Sunday shows the festival site. Here we can see one of the main dance areas, the Nova stage, visible in several clips shared widely online. This footage shows people partying in the early hours of Saturday morning. Witnesses reported hearing rocket fire in the distance, and smoke could be seen in the sky behind them. Some of the crowd didn't hear explosions over the thumping music. Shortly after the music stopped, security staff began ushering people off-site away from the stages. Videos show people leaving hurriedly, appearing confused but not yet in panic. Gunfire was heard, and people can be seen running into the surrounding fields to escape. Israeli security forces and local police appeared to set up defensive positions near the site as festival goers took cover before fleeing. Unverified footage posted on social media shows revelers taking shelter near the site. This video appears to show 25-year-old Noah Agamani being kidnapped by militants and handled onto a motorbike, her arms outstretched. She begs her captors not to kill her. Dashcam footage from a vehicle at the site shows Hamas militants taking a man away. Someone is seen moving at the back of the car before a man approaches him and shoots him. Markings on this man's headband appear to match the Hamas logo. Rescuers said at least 260 dead bodies have been removed from the site. An image shared by the Israeli military shows bodies of some of those killed in the attack. They are among hundreds dead across Israel so far. More than 120 burned cars and destroyed roads next to the site could be seen in drone footage. It is a scene of total devastation brought on people who had come together in celebration.
تتأكدوا بقى كل حزب تتأكدوا قول له اطلع بره جيب الباب الخلف حدا بده يطلع اوعى تستكترنا اوعى تستكترنا يا شباب اوعى تستكترنا يا شباب اصبر يا عم اتاكد اتاكد
We didn't want this war. It was forced upon us in the most brutal and savage way. But though Israel didn't start this war, Israel will finish it. Once the Jewish people were stateless, once the Jewish people were defenseless, no longer. Hamas will understand that by attacking us, they have made a mistake of historic proportions. We will exact a price that will be remembered by them and Israel's other enemies for decades to come. The savage attacks that Hamas perpetrated against innocent Israelis are mind-boggling, slaughtering families in their homes, massacring hundreds of young people at an outdoor festival, kidnapping scores of women, children, and elderly, even Holocaust survivors.
All around the world and many conflicts between Israel and Gaza, this level of brutality is unprecedented. It was not a combatant-on-combatant fight. Hamas and Islamic Jihad militants entered in the early morning hours, going to a music festival and mowing down 260 people before going to communities along the Gaza border and slaughtering civilians, women and children in their homes.
Thousands of rockets fired skyward from the Gaza Strip into Israel. Militant group Hamas, which governs the territory, here launching a surprise attack. And they have caused significant damage.
These attacks were combined with ground forces invading Israeli settlements. Israel confirming that Hamas militants have taken an untold number of soldiers and civilians hostage. Hamas claims to have enough captives to force Israel to release all of the Palestinian prisoners in its jails.
As warning sirens sounded across southern and central Israel, including in Jerusalem, Israel's military said it was on a war footing. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has called an emergency meeting of security officials. This morning's events are some of the most serious since Israel and Hamas fought a 10-day war in 2021.
As we are talking now, you can hear the sirens. I'm about to run to the shelter ASAP, if you allow me. Thank you.
here, militants use a bulldozer to open the security fence which surrounds the strip. Their fighters entering farms and communities which surround it. Some used pickup trucks, others rode motorbikes, and the Israeli Defense Force was overwhelmed. In these pictures, militants use a drone to immobilize a tank, and we see the crew being pulled from a vehicle. It is an unprecedented incursion on Israeli territory, and in the eyes of its prime minister, an act of war.
Following the attack launched by Hamas, Israel
חמאס עשה טעות חמורה הבוקר ופתח במלחמה כנגד מדינת ישראל.
Thanks for joining us. This is I24 News Live from Tel Aviv. Hamas terrorists beheaded babies during a massacre in the village of Kfar Aza. Words that I personally thought I would never have to say in a newscast, but that is the situation 4 days after the worst atrocities perpetrated against the Jewish people since the Holocaust. We can go to Kfar Aza, where the Israeli and the foreign press were allowed to enter earlier today. Let's go to Pierre. He's in Kfar Aza for us now. Pierre.
Yes, there is probably a rocket. A few rockets have been launched right now over Kfar Aza, and that shows you the difficulty of extracting the 200 bodies or so that are still stuck in the kibbutz, a kibbutz of 765 inhabitants prior to the war. These bodies have been rotting since Saturday, told me Shlomo Gottlieb, the head of the Zaka rescue operation here. They're working jointly with the army in order to retrieve the bodies, but it's very complicated because it's still a very volatile situation. The place is full of troops, and yet there are still clashes here. There are clashes from time to time in the vicinity of Kfar Aza, which makes the situation very difficult for the extraction of the bodies of the victim. Now, if they tell me that if you take out a body and put it in a plastic bag immediately after his death, it takes just a couple of minutes. But when a body has been rotting for 3.5 days or so, then the extraction and placing the body inside a bag is a very difficult task. Takes 10 minutes or so because the body is full of fluids, and those fluids
Seems to have lost the connection there with Pierre. But our reporter Nicole Zenit was in Kfar Aza earlier today, along with members of the press. The IDF got in there, and they managed to expel or kill all of the terrorists who were still in Kfar Aza.
a small village that is close to the border where many families were gathered for the Jewish holiday of Simchat Torah. Lots of families, grandmothers, babies, children, mom and dad, everybody together having their breakfast when Hamas terrorists ran house to house and committed atrocities really unseen for many decades, if at all. Well, our Nicole Zedek was there. Take a listen to her report.
Here in Kfar Aza, they continue to remove some of the Israeli bodies that were killed during the massacre Saturday morning. You can see, as 4 days later, they're still continuing to go through some of these houses in this very, very southern Israeli community and remove the Israeli citizens that were killed inside their homes, gunned down, stabbed, different grenades thrown off as well. As we're walking through this community, we're told that we have to stay away from certain areas, certain houses, because there could still be mines in them, and they could go off at any moment. So all of the Israeli soldiers who are down here want to make sure that we're staying safe as well. But as you walk through this community, which we've been doing, just to pan around and kind of give you an example of exactly where we are, surrounded by all of these soldiers, many of them called from reserve duty, leaving their own families behind as well. You can see some of these houses that people were in. Meanwhile, the dead bodies of terrorists also continue to line the different grounds and parks in this surrounding area. Truly the scene of a massacre, as many of these people were just inside their homes, families. One of the commanders here said at least 40 babies were killed. Some of them, their heads cut off. He said he's never seen acts of brutality like this. And as I said, many of these soldiers were called from reserve duties coming down here to the scene of a massacre, none of them knowing exactly what to expect, and no one expecting that it could be something like this. Even as I'm walking around right now, shell casings continue to line the grounds here, the community. Signs of daily life also. Children's bikes parked right here. Meanwhile, bodies lie right next to them. It's truly the scene of a massacre. The commander said this is not a battleground. This was Hamas terrorists coming into the community and killing all of the citizens that they could see. And so it's been a devastating cleanup effort as these soldiers continue to go through, and there's still an active threat from some terrorists in the area as well. In fact, gunfights and fighting between terrorists and the Israeli soldiers here just recently ended, and that's why they're continuing to go house to house and rescue and get all of the civilians that they can. Reporting for I-24 News, I'm Nicole Zedek.
1,000 reservists in record time. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu condemns Hamas, likening it to the actions of ISIS. The death toll continues to rise with significant civilian and IDF casualties. Entering day 4 of war with Gaza, the IDF has announced it has mobilized over 300,000 reservists, the fastest call-up in history with well over 100% reporting. The army call-up is a precursor for the expected Israeli military incursion into Gaza to rid the territory of the Hamas terrorist presence. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said atrocities committed by Hamas during its attack on Israel mirror those carried out by the jihadist group Islamic State.
The savage attacks that Hamas perpetrated against innocent Israelis are mind-boggling, slaughtering families in their homes, massacring hundreds of young people at an outdoor festival, kidnapping scores of women, children, and elderly, even Holocaust survivors. Hamas terrorists bound, burned, and executed children. They are savages. Hamas is ISIS. And just as the forces of civilization united to defeat ISIS, the forces of civilization must support Israel in defeating Hamas.
5 Israelis were injured by Hamas rocket fire in Ashkelon and Ashdod as heavy barrages of rockets were fired by terrorists in the Gaza Strip at towns in southern and central Israel. including one that exploded near Ben Gurion International Airport. Some 4,500 rockets have been launched towards Israel since the fighting started on Saturday morning. The Kurd reported that toll from the Hamas onslaught reached 900, with officials saying that some 100 civilians, including women, children, and soldiers, are being held captive in Gaza. The army has now released the names of 123 soldiers and officers killed in action, including 37 police officers. The number of wounded has also continued to tick upward. The health ministry said that as of Monday afternoon, 2,700 people have been treated, with 650 still hospitalized, with 155 in serious to critical condition. The army has evacuated 15 of 24 towns on the border and will continue to evacuate others, but not the town of Sderot at this stage. Ahead of a potential invasion, Israel is striking hard at Hamas targets in Gaza from the air. Some 500 targets were hit, including 8 Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad war rooms, buildings and housing of Hamas operatives, high-rise towers containing Hamas assets, and a command center used by a senior official in Hamas naval forces. The Hamas-run health ministry in Gaza said about 500 Palestinians have been killed and thousands more wounded in the enclave since Saturday. The IDF has said it has killed about 1,500 Palestinian terrorists in Israeli territory. The UN reports that 123,000 Palestinians have been displaced in the Gaza Strip since the outbreak of the conflict. All this before a potential incursion to end the Hamas rule in Gaza. As the villages and kibbutzim in the Gaza envelope are starting to slowly process what they've been through in the last couple of days, large percentages of the population murdered, bodies, houses demolished, burnt cars, burnt houses. Foreign media got a close first horrifying look at what Kfar Aza, one of the heavily affected kibbutzim, look like right now. This is really devastating.
18 years old. So when I hear statements by Israeli officials, we're going to starve them to death, we're going to impose a blockade, and so forth, we're talking about almost 1 million people.
Okay, but again, how can Israel agree to anything if there's still those outgoing rockets from Gaza itself? Who speaks to Hamas?
Well, plenty of people are speaking to Hamas.
Who is?
I mean, the Qataris are speaking to Hamas. The Egyptians are speaking to Hamas. Frankly, the Israelis are speaking to Hamas. There are plenty of Hamas leadership in Israeli prisons. So the issue is not who can speak to Hamas. The issue is, what are you proposing? What are the prospects? We talk as if this issue came out of nowhere, as if there's no context. Let's forget about Hamas for a second. This year, according to the UN, has been the deadliest year for Palestinians in the West Bank. The West Bank has nothing to do with Hamas. It's been the deadliest year for Palestinians. We've seen, the sort of settler colonial project go on overdrive in the last couple of years. So plenty of people to talk to Hamas. The issue is, what do you talk to them about? And I think if there are real negotiations, I'm pretty sure the rockets will stop from Hamas.
Real negotiations, again, with who? Kobe Michael, how do you stop the rockets from Hamas at this point? How do you get a humanitarian aid corridor in?
I really cannot understand how you can provide the stage for such a bunch of lies and disinformation. Okay, people here are using the fact that people or the audience is not familiar with the fact, and they are inventing realities. What are you talking about the Israeli responsibility with regard to the Gaza Strip? Israel withdrew from the Gaza Strip till the last inch in September 2005, okay? Who took responsibility in coup d'etat against the Palestinian Authority in the Gaza Strip was Hamas. Hamas is an organization that doesn't recognize the right of the state of Israel to exist. This is an organization that wants to rip Israel from the map. This is the organization that threw out from the Gaza Strip the Palestinian Authority and refused to accept the conditions of the quartet, which you are the Europeans part of the four members of the quartet. They do not recognize the Oslo Agreement. They are not willing to stop violence. They are not recognizing the right of the state of Israel to exist. And then you are talking about the Israeli siege and about the Israeli occupation of the Gaza Strip. What are these nonsense that you are talking about? I really cannot understand it.
So one question, how come Israel is able to turn off water, electricity, transportation in Gaza with a switch
of a light. You know, does this happen just like this?
Hamas cleaned up the Gaza Strip, and instead of expending the money that they got from you and from your government and from Israel for the prosperity of their people, they stole the money in order to build terror tunnels and in order to build weapons. Instead of reconstructing the Gaza Strip and giving food to their people, they stole the money and they built an infrastructure of terror against the state of Israel. This is exactly the story of the Gaza Strip. What we are talking about. Hamas, the leader of Hamas, they don't want only our heads, they want your head. They intend to reach Paris and Rome. They don't see any place for Jews and Christians in this world. What we are talking about.
Kobe Michael, should there be a humanitarian corridor? Should there be a ceasefire?
Yes, and there is a humanitarian corridor. But when you are talking about the humanitarian situation, did you ask yourself, what is about the humanitarian situation in Israel? What about 400,000 of Israelis that were evacuated from their homes, that were murdered? That towns in Israel, Ashkelon and Netivot and Sderot, are evacuated. That all the area, the agricultural area, which is responsible for the production of 75% of the agricultural production of Israel, is eliminated now. And I don't know when it will recover. This is not a humanitarian crisis. You are talking only about the Palestinians, that half of them are Hamas supporters. Did you ask yourself how it comes that the psychological infrastructure that enables the prosperity of Hamas as an upgrade version of ISIS to flourish in the Gaza Strip and in the West Bank? And you are talking about the disinvolvement or the absence of involvement of Hamas in the terror campaign in the West Bank. They are the main generator of the terror campaign in the Gaza Strip.
Spread operations against Hamas's infrastructure, its leadership, its operational command capabilities, the terrorist infrastructure that enabled the terrorist attack, and as you rightly pointed out, we took out one of the leaders who led the force that penetrated Israel's border. His name is Ali Qadi, and indeed, they should all know from the mastermind of the massacre, Yahya Sinwar, right at the top, all the way down to the individual terrorists that conducted this massacre, we will not cease until we take them.
This is a very delicate operation. You've recovered bodies of some of the hostages. Can you give us more detail how many bodies were recovered and how the operation will try to find any other hostages?
So I can't go into specific details. There's a lot of sensitivity behind this. Obviously, there are still families and people that are unaccounted for in the aftermath of this terrible massacre, and that's still 1 week after they came into our houses and butchered babies in their bedrooms. So I won't go into specifics, but yes, we are operating in the area of vicinity close to the fence, close to the border area, with small operations in order to localize, find, and try to identify people that were abducted to the Gaza Strip and bring them home. That is our operation. That is what we're doing. You know, Hamas are currently, I think, in a state of disarray as our operations increase, and we are doing everything now to be prepared for a potential ground operation, and that will mean that we have recruited some 300,000 reservists, and we are taking all the necessary precautions in order to be prepared on the Gaza front, but not only on the Gaza front, because there is also concern of the front on Lebanon, with Hezbollah constantly conducting terrorist attacks against against forces at the border, including earlier today an attempted infiltration that we intercepted and took the terrorists out.
Yeah.
So there's a lot.
Sorry about that cross-border shelling. Reuters cameraman Issam Abdallah killed in that cross-border shelling. After that, we heard the Israeli army say it was very sorry for his death. Was that tantamount to saying it was responsible for his death?
No, absolutely not. The situation on the ground, we're still looking into the specifics of this incident, but the whole area there is a combat zone. We've had exchanges of fire, we've had rockets, anti-tank guided missiles fired at our forces, we've had mortar fire, we've had sniper shooting, we've had shots. So it's a very volatile area, and we are responding. So we will have to look into the incident itself, and when we have something to say, if it was us, we will announce that, of course.
Peter, also on the stage with me is our international affairs commentator, Douglas Herbert. He'd like to ask you a question.
Yes, sir. What more can you tell us at this hour about the reports that Israel has agreed to enable what it's called the exit through the Rafah border crossing with Egypt of pre-coordinated foreign nationals? Who would this agreement apply to, and can you confirm it's one way for foreigners to be able to leave Gaza and enter Egypt?
Hi, Douglas. I can't confirm that that's actually happening. I know there is discussions about this, but I can't confirm that it's actually happening today.
So in other words, you don't know for sure whether or not an agreement has been reached for that sort of one-way exiting of foreign nationals and to whom it might apply. We had heard possibly only Americans.
That's right. I can't confirm any of that.
Peter, less than an hour ago, we heard a statement from the Israel military say that Gaza City residents must not delay evacuation. Any idea what that portends as to what's next?
Well, of course, we are escalating our offensive against Hamas, and we are trying to mitigate the civilian strife, and that is why we're instructing people in the area of our operations to go south, to move beyond Wadi Gaza, so that they are out of, or in a safer area, and away from Hamas's heart of operations, its bastion of barbarism. So I think that that's what we're trying to do, is trying to differentiate between the civilians and Hamas, the terrorist organization that has failed Gaza and the people of Gaza miserably.
And as you move forward with that operation, what precautions would be made to limit civilian casualties?
Well, of course, our operations are conducted within the realm of the laws of armed conflict. We're operating against a ruthless enemy that does everything to maximize civilian casualties. We, on the other hand, do everything feasibly possible, known to military officials, military specialists, military professionals, in order to limit civilian casualties. And just one of those issues, like distributing pamphlets, distributing text messages, making announcements, dropping pamphlets from the sky so that it's widespread, and of course utilizing traditional media and social media so that people know that we're coming. And if you're not affiliated with Hamas, and if you're not a terrorist, then you have nothing to be worried about.
Peter, Doug Herbert again. We have tens of thousands of Gazans at this hour said to be moving from northern Gaza towards the south on the IDF's orders. And I am curious, there is food supplies waiting in Egypt near the Rafah crossing. Under what conditions will Israel allow that food to enter Gaza, presumably for the civilians who are arriving in the southern sector of Gaza?
Doug, my role as the IDF spokesperson, we talk about the IDF, the military operation. I talk about the defense issues. Let's leave the diplomacy for the diplomats. I understand the interest in this issue, but it's just beyond my realm of responsibility. Absolutely, the need is that people move south, adhere, and I was actually happy to see your report that people are listening to us, and that's despite Hamas telling them not to evacuate the situation, putting them at risk once again, sacrificing the people of Gaza.
The Palestinian Health Ministry overnight said another 320 people were killed in Israeli airstrikes in Gaza. Reports this Saturday that some of the ambulances evacuating victims from buildings were struck by more Israeli airstrikes. Can you respond to that?
That's the Hamas Ministry of Health?
The Palestinian health officials.
So Hamas, they're in control of everything's coming out. I'm very cautious of any announcement that Hamas says. I would not really relate to anything, and definitely not believe. These are people that massacre people, babies in their bedrooms. So I would really, we have to operate in a way that mitigates and limits civilian casualties. Contrary to what they do, they don't care about human life, Israeli or Palestinian. So our efforts currently are in order to conduct our operations, destroy Hamas's capabilities, destroy their terrorist infrastructure, take out, one of the things that we've targeted over the last couple of days is drones that they positioned on the rooftops of houses. They don't care who is in the second floor, third floor, first floor of those houses. They put the drones on the top of the house and fill them with explosives so that they can penetrate Israeli airspace and go over and drop bombs on Israeli forces and civilians, as they did just 1 week ago on Saturday in that terrible, horrific massacre of Israeli families. So we are currently involved, and I'm sure you've heard that the updated number of around 1,300 people that were killed and butchered in this operation, this terrorist attack against our people. And indeed, when we look at this, and we're following the situation as over 120 people abducted into Israel, there's a lot of concern that is ongoing. We are fighting against Hamas. We will defeat them and we will destroy their capabilities.
Yeah, and as of now, it seems like you're fighting against Hamas. Hezbollah had said when the time comes for any action, we will carry it out. It seems like this conflict will widen. If Hezbollah enters this conflict wholeheartedly, how much will that stretch Israel, the capabilities of Israel's military?
So first of all, I'd say to Hezbollah, look at what we're doing to Hamas in Gaza as we speak. Think very carefully if that is what the type of scenario you want. And secondly, I would say the reality on the ground is we have recruited some 300,000 reservists. Many of those are reinforcing our frontier with Hezbollah on the border with Lebanon. And we are prepared for any eventuality. We have the operational capability, we have Air Force capability, naval capabilities. Yes, we are prepared for that. We don't want it, but we need to be prepared. And as we've seen, even over the night with an attempted infiltration, there are some challenges that are developing. We hope that won't happen, but as we say in the military, hope is not a method.
Peter, we're also just wondering about the links with Iran, and we're in the next week of this conflict. We're wondering about where this goes, if it does broaden the conflict, Hezbollah, Iran. What's the strategy if there are links between Iran and Hamas?
Well, there obviously are links between Hamas and Iran. They celebrate their relationship. Iran funds Hamas. Iran trains Hamas. Iran gives them operational capabilities. So there is obviously a connection. I think the biggest question is, were they involved in the decision-making process of this massacre in Israel? That will have to be investigated. I can't comment on that at this time, but we will have to get to the bottom of this. We are currently focused on Hamas, on removing this threat. They can't be permitted to govern the Gaza Strip as a staging ground for butchering Israelis.
In this filthy attack of terrorism of Muhammad, that those Jews who they always support, I'm not joking, they support Hamas. This music festival are the same people who go in the street holding the so-called Palestinian flag. They are the same people who call anyone to speak against Islam Islamophobic. They are the same people, the hippie, the liberals, are the first one to be targeted and to be killed and slaughtered. In fact, the reason they are there is just to support the Islamic State of Hamas. Those hippie people, they think they are dreamers. They are brainwashed. They think the problem is Israel. And this is why they decided to go close to the borders of Hamas. Very close. Did you ask yourself why they are even doing it there? I mean, what is there? It's just a desert. But those hippie-minded, brainwashed people who've been taught by stupid teachers when they were kids that Hamas are peace, and Muslims, they love you, and Christians are your enemy. That reminds me of a woman she used to keep posting in her Facebook and Twitter against Islamophobic. I think it was in Sweden or Denmark, I forgot where. She was the same one. She was stabbed more than 20 times by a jihadist. So I hope the Israeli now, they will stop using their brain stop using the brain, which is brainwashed by people like this man, who day and night he defend Hamas. Because when you defend Muhammad, the one who says kill the Jews wherever you find them, there's a Jew behind me, behind the tree, kill him. This is what Muhammad said the Muslim should do. Those filthy people are the one who bring destruction to their own nation. So those kids, they are victims of Towiva Singer and his kind, his species. They taught them false information about what Islam is about and what Islam wants from the Jews. Those idiots, they think they can live in peace with someone believe that killing the Jew is part of his religion. Those idiots believe, I'm talking about Towiva Singer, that if we attack Christianity, we can get closer to Muslims and we can be friends and have business and sell diamonds and open banks in their states. Wake up, Israeli. Don't let someone like this rat, Towiva Singer, send your children to festival of peace, which has never existed and will never exist. You did sign a peace agreement with many Muslim countries just yesterday. 6 Israeli tourists killed by a policeman in Egypt. So the idiot who think that if he sign an agreement with the government, that means he signed an agreement with the Muslims. Most of those governments don't even represent the population. So the stupid ones is the one who goes to support the enemy economy. Just because you want to have a suntan on your skin, or you want to visit an ancient building in Egypt, and then you risk your life and you pay for it. Did you sign a peace agreement with Emirat? Let us see what will happen in Emirat. In Emirat now they are collecting every Israeli, taking them into protection, the government, because they fear the population, they will do something. Which country you have a very good relationship with? Azerbaijan? Which one? All of them, they are your enemy for very simple reason. Muhammad is their prophet, and he is the one who said, kill them wherever you find them. This is the former Prime Minister of Israel. This maniac, just a few weeks before he left the office, he made a speech, and I think it was in the United Nations, saying that Prophet Muhammad never taught any hate against the Jews, and never, Islam does not teach anti-Semitism at all. Those are your leaders, businessmen. The one you have right now, he is kissing the ass, Netanyahu, of every single Muslim leader just to do business. They sold you out. The liberals and the conservatives in Israel, they lost their mind. They think they can have a partnership with the devil. You bring the devil to your home. The devil will take over. The Messenger of Allah said, BBUH, which means B, it's kind of a urine stuff. You can't even say the name of Muhammad without adding long line of praising for the criminal Muhammad. But the last hour will not come until the Muslims fight against the Jews, until the Jew hide himself behind a stone or a tree, and the stone or the tree will say, oh, Muslims, there's a Jew behind me, come and kill him. Oh, this is Da'if hadith, but this is al-Bukhari and Muslim. It is Da'if Bukhari and Da'if Muslim, but the Prophet was Da'if, Muslim was Da'if. And now, after all what happened, do you think the Jews will learn that peace agreement with those people is just a joke? And they are just preparing themselves for the day they are strong, so they can destroy Israel? Let us check the Quran. In the chapter 47, the chapter of the filthy Muhammad, it says, so do not faint and call for peace. The translation is not Arabic saying, you shall be the upper ones. God is with you. The real translation is, don't faint call for peace when you are the uppermost. Miracles happen when you change the translation or the translator. Muhammad Hilali and Khan. So be not weak and ask not for peace from the enemy of Islam while you are having the upper hand. So what is that saying? You go for peace when you don't have the upper hand, and when you are ready, you slaughter them all. And this was the tactic of the filthy dog Muhammad. And if you are a Jew or a Christian or a Hindu or a Buddhist, I don't care who you are, or an atheist, stupid you are if you think that this religion can ever bring peace anywhere in the world. Anywhere. Because remember, we are talking about religion, not about people. People will be under the influence of what Muhammad claimed to be from his God. So if somebody says, I'm a Muslim, do he believe in this? Absolutely. If you don't, well, even if his name is Muhammad, he's not a Muslim. So Imarat, Bahrain, Qatar, whatever, Qatar is not. Actually, Qatar is the #1 supporters of Hamas, and until now, nobody talking about it. Until now, nobody speaking. Who is the one who's funding? They keep saying Iran, Iran, Iran. The fact, the biggest head of a snake ever you can imagine for terrorism, specifically Hamas and Al-Qaeda, is Qatar. Qatar prince, so-called prince, is a Muslim brotherhood, same as the filthy son of Muta Erdogan. So I say to those fools who they think they can build bridges and the stupid things they keep talking about, or those priests who say Muslims are loving people, they love us. Fraud, liars, deceivers. When we say Muslims, we are talking about somebody believing this, believing killing every single Jew, every single Christian, as chapter 9 verse 29 says. When we say Muslim, we talk about chapter 5 verse 51 says, take not Christian and Jews as friends. So when a priest or a politician, he say to you, Islam teach love, Islam mean peace, like every scumbag we saw in TV for the last 20 years, starting from George W. Bush. The only one actually say the truth about Islam is Trump. But Trump, because he's a businessman, he's a corrupt at the end of the day, he was the first one to shake hands with Qatar. In fact, he left the sanctions of Saudi Arabia over Qatar. And he is the same person who went in front of the White House saying, it is time for Qatar to stop supporting terrorism. 2 weeks after, Qatar rented a big building of his son-in-law, which is going to be bankrupt. $1 billion. Since then, Qatar is our best friend, according to Trump. Wake up. Don't be a fool. And don't be a dummy. Biden, the filthy, he just sponsored Hamas. A few weeks ago, gave Iran $6 billion. In fact, he's working hard to lift all sanctions on Iran because he is the puppy of Obama, the Shia Muslim Obama. Obama is a Shia Muslim. He sponsored Hezbollah in Iran. This is why you see anytime Obama is in the office, Iran is flourishing. Biden came, the first thing he did, he tried his best actually to take all the sanctions. And until now, he said in TV and his administration, they said, there is no proof that Iran is involved in this. There's no proof. No proof. I mean, the Iranian TV, they say, we are the one who support Iran, Hamas. Hamas, they say, thank you, Iran, for supporting us. And the potato, the son of Biden and his puppies, they say, there's no proof. Because simply, he is the puppy of Obama. So, we are here to share the truth with you. I am not in charge of an army. I'm not in a position to make decision. But I am in a position to share my knowledge with you, so you will not be deceived by so-called conservative, who usually they make business deal with the devil like Trump, and so-called liberals, who they are worshipping the devil like Biden. And Netanyahu, who he claimed that he is going to defend Israel, is no better. This is why I don't have a high expectation of what will happen. Now he's been forced to do something. He had no choice, otherwise this potato, he will never do anything like that. So whatever you see is going to happen in the coming few days, not because he is a hero, but because he's been forced to. In fact, Netanyahu is trying to build a nuclear facility for Saudi Arabia in exchange for what? Peace. You stupid idiot, you give them a nuclear facility, they will bomb you as soon as they have it. Dummy, stupid idiots. They arm them, they empower them, they support them, and when they attack, they cry. Look what they are doing. You harvest your evil seed. The Americans, they supported Osama bin Laden. Oh, he's fighting the Soviet Union. Let us use those jihadists to fight the Soviet Union. We give them missiles, we give them a training, we teach them how to do suicide bombing. And as usual, the dog bites his master, because this is a beast, not a dog. All of them are donkeys, coward, liars. And now, those poor people in the music festival, I'm sure now you are convinced that peace with Islam is possible. Don't forget next time to hold the Palestinian flag and say peace is possible. Don't. Please. Dummies. And this earth is full of them. Leave your comment. I know many of you will not like what I'm saying, but who care? I say it as it is, without makeup. How many girls are being raped from those peace lovers? Did you see the woman? She have a blood between her legs. Did you see it? No, you did not. Hippies, hippie-minded Israeli liberals. They think peace festival will make peace. They try to find any occasion for, like, peace. We are, unbelievable. Sad, very sad. But I hope that will be a lesson for all those brainwashed people. We can say to the dead one, I hope you learned your lesson. But we hope to say that the one who is still alive, he will know what's exactly going on. Thank you. God bless you all. And me, myself, I support Israel, but I don't support a filthy coward like Netanyahu until he proves that he is not a coward. So let us see. Thank you.
Now, that was the voice of no other but Christian Prince, CP. If you like my channel, then please subscribe. Thank you